Okay, this video I'm going to try to convince you that not to think of invisibility as being some form of perfect camouflage, but instead think of invisibility as being an inherent part of reality itself. Once you do this, it requires some sort of rewiring of the brain, but once you do this, you can start to explore the different properties of the invisible aspects of space-time or reality or whatever you want to call it. For instance, um, say you want to make yourself invisible, like camouflage. Well, what you're doing, you're making space invisible along with you, not just you. You're making the whole space, the whole volume of space, this volume of space invisible. Okay, first imagine this being a cross-section of a sphere. These are tiny 3D picture elements. This is an interface where the light goes through these wirings and goes through to their paths back out everywhere and at every angle. This is just a 2D cross-section. That's you're making space invisible along with yourself. You're concealing your cloak in this patch of space, this volume of space. But then, nature abhors a vacuum. So the space beyond this boundary, this cloaked boundary, comes through. And it comes through this interface that conceals this space. And it sends this light through as though this space hasn't disappeared. Nature has moved space, made it invisible, made it disappear, made it move elsewhere. I base that off of Landauer's fully extended principle. Whenever you erase information, it has to reappear elsewhere. And with today's current thinking, space is made of information. So if you can make space disappear, it has the possibility of going elsewhere to reappear somewhere else because it is information. So, but in this sense, this space is dormant. It's not moving elsewhere, but it can be televised elsewhere. So you made space invisible along with yourself. And so where does this space go? Well, if you I don't need that. If you just made another interface around this person, and people got on me for calling them Bob and Alice, so I'll call them John and Jane. So if you made another interface, this is the cloaking interface. If you made another interface that would take your, and I'm not going to draw all the 3D picture elements, but if you take that and it scanned you visually and it made a negative of you, it has to flip you around first. Now I can show you where I'm getting at. Makes a negative of you in here. Negative, that's a virtual form of you. I just drew that real quick. Then you could go over to Jane's portal. These are portals, by the way. Whenever you make a patch of space invisible, it could be used as a portal. She has an interface around her. This is her holodeck. These are both their holodecks. And they don't have to be that small or cramped up. That's just a schematic. She can have herself turned around. negative casted. That's how you produce telepresence. You have to have it negative casted with her virtual form in there. Her holodeck is connected to her virtual holodeck. His holodeck is connected to his negative virtual holodeck. Whose ever environment they want to share, the background environment is connected to their cloaking interface. It produces a background environment in each one, and the real holodeck where the person is at is negatively casted in this mirror world virtual form. They're transmitted over to, she's transmitted over to John, Jane's transmitted over to John, and John is transmitted into her holodeck. Just squiggly lines. And these go round and round, and it depends on whose cloak you use as a holodeck. It could be her environment over here, distant reality, or it could be his environment out here, coming up through here and illuminating his holodeck, send it through to his virtual form, to hers. And there's a mirror world, sort of symmetry or topology or whatever you want to call it, between these two different patches of invisible space, televised elsewhere. And these are just, if you just think of space as, if you just think of invisibility as just being a perfect form of camouflage, then you're missing out on the whole magic of what space could be, what our reality could be. And these mirror worlds are the entanglement that connect two different realities together. And here's a picture of a portal, in case you're interested in something more than just a cross section. The outside is invisible. There's a holodeck inside, and I just made fancy control panel. And there's an interface, a cloaking interface. It's connected to the outside of the body of the portal, and there'd be another interface that you can't see that flips everything in the real holodeck into a negative cast. From the real holodeck to the negative cast, to the positive holodeck to the negative cast, back to the real holodeck to the negative cast. That's this mirror world of from the real world out here to the virtual world of the cloak, where only light exists, to the real world of the person in their real holodeck, to the virtual holodeck that televises them across to the other person's real holodeck, back to their virtual holodeck, to their real holodeck, to their virtual holodeck. And this, if you could use your imagination, is making space invisible. Invisibility shouldn't be thought of as just a perfect camouflage. It's a natural part of space. And when you can rewire your brain to think of that in those terms, then you can imagine how space can be made to be transferred somewhere else. And that's the whole basis of teleportation. Except this is just the invisible and holodeck's side of things. There would also be an intangible and tangible haptic side of things that I don't have a handle on. So, well, thanks for watching this presentation. It's one of my longer ones.